Hello there. Today we're going to be using the Football Guys consensus rookie ranks to get a better understanding of this running back class before the NFL draft. We'll have rookie running back prospects go head to head while the three of us make our pitch for who do we think you should be drafting, who should you be picking in your upcoming rookie draft. Winner will keep that higher ranking, and the loser gets pushed down the board, sort of like an opposite of King of the Court. So today when we do these rankings, remember, this is not like our rankings per se. We're taking a look at Football Guys and what they have there for the Dynasty rookie rankings. These are available to all elite premium subscribers, and it's just a big consensus of all of our experts over there. So you go to footballguys.com, you'll be able to find that really, really easily. Guys, I don't want to waste too much time on the top three running backs, because I think whether it's Football Guys or across the industry, fantasy, NFL draft, doesn't matter. It's Bijan, it's Jahmyr Gibbs, and it's Zach Charbonnet, right? Like those three guys. What I do want to know, and Vig, I'll start with you, is who is the running back 4 in this class? When we look at the Football Guys consensus ranks, the next two guys available are Tyjae Spears and Devon Achane. So who is it for you?
I went with Spears, and I got to say something, just if I might, because this is going to apply to every other player I talk about. Outside of these top three, I'm not convinced that any of these folks are going to be huge fantasy, production sort of. So all these folks we're talking about, just take that with have that as the lens you view it through. I like a lot of these guys, but when I say I like them, it doesn't mean I expect them to be like productive running backs from a fantasy standpoint. But Spears, he was always a pretty consistent big play threat. The dude got nearly 7 yards per carry in college. Obviously, that won't translate to the NFL where there's bigger, faster folks, but it will still translate, I think, to a decent amount of yards per carry. He was second in the entire nation in yards after contact per attempt. Every time I got hit, he still made some extra yards for his team and really was on pace to really break out as a true sophomore prior to that ACL injury that he had in 2020.
I'm going to follow the doctor. I'm going with Spears as well. He ended last
Smart.
season at Tulane. Yeah, I think so. He rushed for over 120 yards in his 8 straight games to end the season. Awesome finish. His ability to find holes might be his best attribute, to be honest. And then once he finds the hole, forget about it. He's incredibly elusive. He forced 63 missed tackles last season and has found success in the red zone, lining up under center and the Wildcat. And that's where 5 of his 19 touchdowns came from. So if there's any NFL teams out there that want to utilize that Wildcat,
Dolphins.
It's the first team that come to mind every time when you hear Wildcat. Spears is a perfect fit.
Yeah, I went the same direction. Tyjae Spears. I mean, I think we all know like he's a bit smaller, but at least he's over that 200-pound threshold that you want to see for a guy to at least get some decent NFL workload. When I watched the film on him, it's very explosive. He's got that ability to stop and start so easily. I actually venture to say that he is top of the class at that cutting ability, right there with Bijan and Gibbs and some of these outstanding athletes at the running back position. And for me, what I noticed the most is just his spatial awareness. Like, this is a guy that had to make a lot happen for Tulane. His lateral agility is one of the best in the class as well. And that kind of comes with that creativeness, that spatial awareness, basically making something out of nothing. And he creates these running lanes. He's 4th in this entire class in elusive rating per Pro Football Focus. And I think he's a guy that we will likely see go on day 2 of the NFL draft. I think he'll be probably 3rd round, though, maybe late 3rd round for one of those teams that's just looking to add an explosive playmaker. Well, if you play Dynasty football, that means you are prepping for your rookie drafts. Drop a like on this video. Okay, it's really quick. Just click the little thumbs up. Okay, then make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Really easy. It's right next to it. And you won't miss any of our upcoming rookie and NFL draft content. We're going to have live streams. We're going to have Q&A shows. We're going to be talking about more rookie rankings, more rookie mock drafts. And then if you're watching this, please leave a comment with your rookie draft questions. Which prospects should you be considering with your pick? Should you be trading away that pick for a veteran? If you drop it in the comment section below, I'm going to get back to every single one of those and help you guys out with your rookie draft. At running back 5, Devon Achane, who has now moved down the bench a little bit, versus Kendre Miller. Vig, who are you going with?
I went with Achane, and I struggled a lot with this. I know, Alfredo, you and I talked a lot about this yesterday. I tried to view this as who do I think has a better chance of being a fantasy running back? Because I do think Kendre might be the better running back, but Achane just had insane efficiency and early on in his career, 8 yards per carry, nearly 7 yards per carry in his second year as a sophomore. Efficiency did drop a little bit and still a pretty respectable 5.6 yards per carry, but they had an atrocious offensive line in 2022. And the fact that he was able to do that was great. I think he does get a lot of billing because of his track star status and his absolutely insane speed. I'm sure the A-Train nicknames are going to fly throughout the NFL. The dude ran like a 4.32 40. And we have seen that, a lot of things don't translate well to the NFL, but that high, insane speed always finds a role somewhere. And, I do worry a little bit about his, like, I think he's 188, 189 pounds. We do not see running backs succeed a
88.
lot. Ugh. Anyway, but I think I like A-Chain a lot. Generally speaking, I'd like to see what he can do and what, if he ends up in the right landing spot.
I love the analysis. I do want to point out that you're the only person that says 4.32 when referring to a 40 time. Most
I
people
know,
just say
I know,
4.32.
I know.
Like,
I
why
have
do
to.
get the analytical side out? Joey, which direction did you go here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Bucks fan, so I loved A Train, Mike Allstott. So I'm gonna go A Chain here. His greatest
Hard
speed.
hitting.
Yeah, I know. There you go. His greatest strength, definitely, I think they mentioned, is his speed. The fastest over offensive player 40-yard time in this year's combine came from him, and his third fastest overall. He's an ideal fit for a team like Dallas. Please don't listen, Tony Pollard managers, who utilize their backs within their passing game. I'd love to see him end up with Dallas for Dallas' sake, but not necessarily for Tony Pollard's sake. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry, had 11 touchdowns on the season. He looked great. The only downside, like they mentioned, is his weight, 185 pounds. So he might not be able to carry a full workload. I still think could be great in the NFL, though.
Yeah, so the interesting thing with Devon A-Chain, we talk about that speed, and this is like actually a disappointment amongst people who like know about his speed. Like everyone was expecting him to run in those 4.2s when he ran a 4.32. We're like, oh, I thought he was going to be even fast. Like it's crazy we've gotten to that point that we're saying like you're almost running sub 4.3, and it's just like, disappointing. So I went the other way, guys, and I'm sorry. I know you guys. Devon A-Chain wins, and he's going to move on, but I picked Kendry Miller here. I'll talk more about Miller later, but Devon A-Chain, he does have some incredible short area bursts, and he makes guys miss in really small spaces. And I think that's something that you don't always see from a lot of these track athletes, is guys that can move laterally as well as he does. So I don't dislike A-Chain. I think that I want to give him more of like a grade of like an INC. Like he's incomplete yet as a running back prospect, and you won't necessarily see him break too many tackles, but with that speed, once he gets going, he's at full speed. It's nearly impossible to get your arms around him. So he doesn't have to be this 210-pound bruiser, but 188, I think the concerns there are obvious, especially with workload. I think I like Kendry Miller a little bit better. And I'm going to steal a stat here from one of the most respected analysts in all of fantasy, and he takes a very analytical approach here. It's JJ Zacharyson. And he wrote something here on Devon A-Chain where he said, since 2011, no running back under 190 pounds has ever had 100 or more carries in a single season. So that doesn't mean that you can't be fantasy relevant or that you can't be a good player or that Devon A-Chain won't be the outlier to go past that. But it is something to notice here. I think we talk about size and weight a lot, and BMI Twitter goes crazy. But I think this is something to really consider when taking a look at Devon A-Chain and how that profile translates to the next level. I think, though, because of the speed, he will be a weapon that teams are going to want, and he'll likely end up being picked in that third round, probably late third round, maybe. I can't imagine someone with his speed falling to day 3. Now we're moving on to running back 6. And Kendry Miller now moves down the ladder, and it's Kendry Miller versus Zach Evans. Vig, who'd you pick here?
I mean, I had A-Chain and Miller so close to each other, so obviously I'm going to go with Miller here now. One of the reasons I didn't put Miller ahead of A-Chain was I just didn't know where his fantasy relevance was going to be. He doesn't really have a lot in the way of receiving work. May not be a huge liability, but we really haven't seen him being used that way. He's got fantastic size. We talked about A-Chain's weakness being size. Miller's size is fantastic, but he blends that with being able to run and actually get away from people. He had runs of 75 and 89 yards. He can really just flip that switch and go from a grinder to a shifty runner. Obviously, Alfredo, you and I have talked about this. Really wish he just lower his pads a bit more. He still needs some coaching there. I guess my big picture worry, and the reason I had Miller just below A-Chain is I think A-Chain may have some fantasy relevance. I'm worried that Miller might just get relegated to like special teams use only early on in his career.
Oh, you shut your mouth when you say that. You're disgusting. Joey, say something happy.
No, I am. I was close on them as well. If you take Miller and you stick him on something like the Chargers, where he's complimenting Austin Eckler,
nice.
I could take him over A-Chain. It's a landing spot issue.
Are you sure? Are you sure we're not going to get Isaiah Spillard again?
Well, that's what I think. This is the type of back that the Chargers are really kind of looking for to fill that role with Eckler. I would love to see that as an option. I mean, he averaged 6.7 yards per carry in college, 220 pounds, but don't let that fool you. He's really quick and has the strength to break through tackles.
Yeah, I went with Miller here. I already had him ahead of Devon A-Chain, but I mean, just when you put him up against Zach Evans, like he literally already did this. He beat Zach Evans in real life over at TCU. They were there together. And Kendrick Miller was the guy that the team wanted to go with. Zach Evans transferred out. He transferred over to Ole Miss, and Kendrick Miller. What I love about him, and it's something that you guys kind of touched on here, is just excellent contact balance. He does not go down. He's not going to be the bruiser. He's not making the highlight, run over people like Joey. You mentioned Mike Allstott. Like, he's not doing that kind of stuff, but he never goes down on that first tackler. And it's just there's a really specific play that I'll probably edit and put into this video later, where he goes and he makes this catch, and he is able to stay on his feet, still break a couple tackles, and basically turn what should have been a negative play into a major gain. And that's the kind of stuff I think you look for in running back, stuff that makes them special, stuff that makes them jump off the screen. And I get it. The receiving stuff can be a little bit worrisome from a data standpoint, but we ran into this stuff last year with Ken Walker, and, he may not be this guy that's going to go out and catch 50 balls, but he was actually pretty good in terms of the TCU running backs. TCU just didn't pass the running backs much. The running back group had 11% target share on that offense, which is not very good, but Kendrick Miller had nearly 50% of all the running back targets in that offense. So, I see him being a guy that's like a 20 to 30 catch, a year guy at most. That doesn't necessarily bring you the biggest upside in fantasy, but he can still be very valuable, especially with that goal line upside at his size. Like, he's a guy that I really like at the next level. I think he's one of those, he can maybe sneak into the third round, but I think it's probably a little bit more possible that he goes early in the fourth round on day 3. The running back 7, boys, we got Zach Evans going up against Tank Bigsby. Love the name. Vig, who'd you go with?
I love both names. Not Zach Evans, sorry. Tank and Bigsby. It's like a big tank all in one. Sorry, we've made so many jokes about this, and by we, I mean like anyone who
I promise you that's getting cut out of every version of the podcast. YouTube, audio, all
I do this. I try to push the envelope a little bit, see how far I can go until you cut something out.
Oh, you wild man.
But we got to see, Tank Bigsby played in the SEC. Not an easy place to play. Not an easy place to have consistent production. We've seen great running back struggling. We had 3 straight seasons of quality production in the SEC. And the dude even broke out as a true freshman. We know that he has an ability to be involved in, in the receiving work. He can truly play on third down. We've seen him be used in multiple ways. He's had a 15% reception share, and he was actually the leading receiver for Auburn. So a lot of things I like about Tank Bigsby. Wow. Joey, you better pick Tank Bigsby too. I am bullying you live on air right now.
So listen, I think the one thing we can all agree on with this is that Tank Bigsby is the RB1 in the name department. That is a running back or UFC fighter name. I don't know which.
Why not both?
Yeah, I mean, Bigsby deceptively good at extending the plays, as he finished 4th in the nations in yards after contact. He played behind a less than stellar offensive line at Auburn, which found Bigsby kind of always caught in traffic jams. So maybe he should go to LA too, because there's a lot of traffic in LA. Keep that one in the podcast. All right.
Traffic
right off the cuff. Right off the cuff.
Joey, you're fitting in just swimmingly.
Behind a stellar offensive line, Bigsby has all the tools to be a 3-down back in the league. Our Football Guys rookie draft guide compared him to Josh Jacobs, which I think is a really excellent comparison.
Jingleheimer Schmidt, of course. You gotta do the whole thing if you're gonna say Josh Jacobs. By the way, if you are looking for some help with your rookie drafts, the rookie draft guide is totally free. You don't have to pay a dime for it. Okay. You're just going to go to footballguys.com/rookie guide. The link will also be in the description of this show. You can go check that out, and you'll see reports on over 120 players. Like, you'll be set for a 10-round rookie mock draft or rookie draft, whatever it is. And it's actually going to get updated with a version 3.0 after the NFL draft. And that will become a paid version of it. So if you become a Football Guys Elite subscriber, you don't have to worry about paying for it. Just $5.79 a month. It is the most affordable fantasy football subscription in the entire football landscape. And you're going to be getting so many cool things like Dynasty rankings, Dynasty articles, and the rookie draft guide all included with that. It is well worth the investment. Vig, you were talking about Tank Bigsby being the leading receiver for Auburn, which I just think is absolutely wild because he's not that good of a receiver, and he caught 30 passes. He caught 30 passes. We were just talking about if Kendrick Miller, a guy who's not really a receiver, did that in the NFL, we could see that as possible. And Tank Bigsby did that in Auburn. And I think that's why these numbers and talking about these players deserves so much context. When we get excited about, he was the leading receiver for that team. He had 30 catches. That's not crazy. But I think what it does show is that this team really leaned on him a lot. And Joey, a lot of things you said are absolutely true about him having to create something out of nothing so often. And he's a guy that when I look at him on film, he's sort of good at everything, but not elite at anything. Like he's not great at anything. He's got some inconsistent vision. And I think a lot of that kind of stems from the fact that he always had to try to create something out of nothing. And I think it's almost kind of like the Sam Darnold I'm seeing ghost. It's just like guys like that, when they don't have that confidence in their blocking up front, they start to do things that are just not on par with their proper running vision. And they start to create lanes that aren't there. He's going to run into his blockers and expect guys to be in the wrong place. And what I saw him do a lot, and what Auburn was able to do, at least at times, is get him out into open space. When he's in open space, he's actually surprisingly nimble. He's got a great little dead leg that he can stop and start and get some good cutback moves. And he's really good one-on-one situations against those defensive backs. But he's a guy that I do see, if he gets the proper coaching at the next level, he can be a lot better. But as of right now, I kind of see him very similar to Kendre Miller as a guy that has a high floor with probably some limited upside. He's going to be, best case scenario, maybe one of those solid RB2s at the next level. I see him being a guy that can go in the 4th round. I don't see him being dropped any further than that. I think 4th round is kind of the floor for Tank Bigsby. Zach Evans versus Roschon Johnson.
But let's talk about Johnson and why I like Johnson. We know a 6 foot tall, 220-pound guy who is just really, really good in those short yardage situations. We know that he is really good at breaking tackles. He was 4th in the entire nation in yards per attempt after contact, after he gets hit. And even PFF, they rated him as the most elusive running back in the class. He had a 45% missed tackle rate, which really led all running backs, not just over the last season, over the last 2 seasons. So we have a guy here who does what a running back needs to do really, really well. And it's just hard to, again, pick Evans over Johnson. I like Johnson. I'm curious to see where you guys go with this.
Joey, do we have a disagreement?
We do.
Oh, no.
There we go. I love it.
This
is
not
what
a hard
this is what we
disagree
need.
by any means. But this is the point in rookie drafts where I start looking for upside. So Zach Evans for me is one of the highest upside running backs in this class. The main issues with him are off field. He gets into a good system with a good coach. They can get him under control. Those off-field issues are no longer issues now. Over 1,000 total yards last season at Ole Miss with 10 touchdowns. I was just as excited watching Zach Evans tape as I was any other running back that we prepared for in this.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna have to break the tie here, and I'm sorry, Joey, but I'm gonna go with Roschon Johnson.
Yes.
Man, it's and I said this about tight ends, and I'm just a sucker for big football players that also have a blend of speed to them. And I know Roschon Johnson didn't wow anybody at the combine, but when you turn on the film, he's just another one of those bigger guys that is surprisingly nimble. And you can't really dock him points, right, for being behind Bijan Robinson. I think that one of the comps that a lot of people have given, not necessarily stylistically, but from a production standpoint, is seeing Miles Sanders behind Saquon Barkley for years. And why didn't he break out earlier? And it's the same thing. And one of the arguments that, I think it's interesting to consider, right? And it's the guys from the Footballguys college football show have said, if Roschon Johnson was really this good, the transfer portal is very open nowadays. He could have gone anywhere. And there's always that argument of if he went somewhere else, he would have been a top 3 running back or top 4 running back in this class. And how really true is that? We don't know at this point, but at least from what I see on film, this is a guy that I think that could absolutely get better in the NFL. He simply just doesn't have a lot of carries on his resume right now. And it's similar to kind of Dameon Pierce, an angry runner, doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires, that I think if he's given that opportunity, Joey's getting hot over there talking about Dameon Pierce. Oh my stars. Joey, you're loving it. I know.
Dameon Pierce.
Vapors.
So it was Roschon Johnson. What I love so much is that he's just kind of that classic downhill runner. When he gets to the NFL, he is going to have a role. He's a big guy that's going to have a role immediately as a goal line back, an early down back, and he's actually one of the best pass blockers in this draft. So he can get out there on passing downs. He's not the most natural pass catcher, but he can do it. The only thing that I think that will have to come with more experience is that he bounces runs outside maybe a bit too much to try to get one-on-one with those DBs, and he doesn't have the speed for that in the NFL. So he's another one of those guys, I think with a little bit of coaching, we can actually see that ceiling for him. I think he's one of those guys the NFL really likes a lot more than maybe fantasy people do, and he's another one. I think you can see him right there in those middle rounds, round 4, very similar to Dameon Pierce last year. We'll be back next week. Myself and Joey Wright with Matt Harmon. That's right, the wide receiver guru himself, Mr. Reception Perception, as we do the same exercise for the rookie wide receiver class. For more Dynasty content just like this, click the video to the left of me and make sure you're subscribed to the Football Guys YouTube channel.